I'm curious to hear, and I'm going to keep checking the Zoom chat over here, if anybody is already feeling a shift. You're already feeling a shift. Maybe you're feeling like a pivot or a pirouette coming. Maybe you feel like there's an evolution. Thank you so much. But are you feeling something inside of you just shift a little bit? Maybe some of those fear gremlins and limiting beliefs are starting to wash down the drain. Something great is stirring. I'm feeling more confident. Everything is shifting. I feel more clarity. I feel a pirouette coming. I love that. Love that so much. Good. Perfect. This is the exact place I want you to be right now, and I don't want you to be nervous about it. So quick recap, I'm not going to read through this whole thing. On day one, we were diving into the digital business roadmap, which meant that we were creating the foundation, the firm foundation for your business. We talked about a lot there and beliefs and the different types of expert that you can be. And then we moved into the bonus training, as I told you about, the psychology of learners and buyers. Day two was solely focused on your marketing mechanisms. So that's where we were learning how to craft an irresistible offer, which I saw from so many of you. You started to get clarity on the fact that your offer and your product are two different things and how we're actually going to price out that offer. And then yesterday we just did an impromptu 2-hour Q&A, which I just have to say thank you to all of you for asking such phenomenal questions. You've heard me say it before. I think it was the great Tony Robbins who initially said some iteration of the quality of your questions will determine the quality of the answers that you get, right? And the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life and the business that you have. So just massive shout out and a bravo to all of you for asking such great questions. Tomorrow we have another bonus. Now, I can't tell you what it is. I'll tell you it's an interview. I'll tell you that we're having a special guest come in, and I'll tell you that it's happening in the Facebook group at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. But that is all I'm going to tell you. Now, some of you in here, I think you kind of have a hint or an idea of who it might be. Do not give it away if you know, but I will tell you it's going to be really, really good, so you're not going to want to miss it. Now, be honest with yourself for a second and be honest with me. And just let me know, where, what have you watched so far? Have you been doing the homework? Have you been letting past patterns, habits, stories, and beliefs maybe get in the way? If you haven't taken action on this stuff, why? You don't have to tell us in the chat, but why have you not taken action? And I get sometimes life is lifing and we get busy and there's kids and school pickups and all of that, right? Time zone issues. We have people all over the globe in here. Switzerland, Sweden, Austria. I saw France. We've got people in Italy, Spain, Australia, London. I mean, there's literally people in all different time zones. So I get it. But I'm just curious, and for you to think about what have been some of those shifts, what have been some of those takeaways, and how are you feeling maybe different than a week and a half ago when we started together? I've seen in the Facebook group so many different aha moments. And I also just want to remember on day 2, I read you that little passage from Louise Hay's book, This Is How You Heal. And I read you that passage about a tomato seed and us not expecting the tomato seed to grow into a tomato plant with 1 million tomatoes tomorrow, right? We know better. So I'm just reminding you of that with your business, because a lot of the work that you're doing is underground right now. A lot of us in our businesses, what we're doing is underground and we don't see the fruits of our labor yet. But I also want to point out some really cool screenshots. Again, I've got hundreds of these saved in my phone. They mean so much to me. But people in here saying, loving the perfectionism is the lowest standard that you can set for yourself. Everything is coming together like a beautiful phoenix. I've watched day 1 more than once. Everything you're saying is 100% more impactful and inspiring than stuff I've paid for before. This is gold. I'm already implementing this in my content and seeing a shift. So eye-opening. I mean, the ahas that have been happening in the Facebook group, it's just incredible. And for me, if I'm being completely honest, this is the stuff that I screenshot and save, and I put into a photo album for myself. So the days that I'm feeling not so great, not like a rock star, not like I know what I'm doing, but I'm having those fear gremlins and self-doubt and limiting belief come up, those are the days that I go back into a photo album like this, and I just look and I get to see firsthand the tiniest little impact that I'm making. The one thing that I said that can just shift somebody's day or perspective. So I encourage all of you to do that as well. Anytime you get like a really nice DM or an email, screenshot that, put it into a brag book for yourself, right? Create an album of all the good things, because it's so easy to hold on to the one not so good thing, the one critique, the one upset client, the one rejection that you get on a sales call, but we lose focus of all the really great things. So thank you for being a part of this experience. Yeah, I have a lot of photo albums in my phone, and a brag book is absolutely one of them, and it's just for me. So today we're diving into sales, and before I get into it, I want to know truly, honestly, How do you feel about sales? Go ahead, write it in the chat box. There's no judgment in here. It is a safe container. I hate it. Okay, perfect. Cheryl says, I hate it. How do you feel about sales? Barf, not my thing, terrible, uncomfortable, vomit, hate it. Sales is a service. Diane, awesome. I love that. Sales hurts my head. It feels like the shoe department. Uncomfortable. Not bad when I'm talking about what I love. Okay, cool. A lot of people, there's this feeling sometimes of like sales are sleazy, sales are bad, they're sticky, they're icky. I feel pushy when I'm doing sales. I feel annoying when I'm doing sales, right? So I want to shift all of those thoughts today, but I don't want to just shift those thoughts. I want to give you tactical, tangible things so that sales can actually become easier for you. Now, broke coaches are focusing on getting more sales, closing deals, and hitting numbers. They're likely also focusing on things like virality of their reels and likes and comments and saves and shares. And the most successful coaches are focusing on providing value and giving service and opening opportunities and creating impact. You know, when I teach sales, I never teach clients to close sales. So we've all heard that before, right? Like high ticket closer. Yo, you got on a sales call. Did you close them? I think just even energetically, I don't like the way that sounds, because closing them sounds like I'm boxing them into something. What if we were opening sales? So when our clients do a sales call or they're having a sales conversation, I ask, did you open? Did you open the opportunity for them? Did you open their mind to something new? Did you open the opportunity for transformation? This is where we're giving, we're not getting, we're serving, we're not selling. It's purpose, not popularity, right? And we've talked about that. So what we're getting into today is a lot of stuff. We're going to unpack the difference between you and where you're at. We're going to talk about great marketers and great coaches. We're going to break down all the things that need to happen before someone says yes, the 8 phases of launch, and so many more pieces. We're going to start to put a bow on everything that we've been learning, and I know we've been drinking water from a fire hose. I know we've been going fast. Today's focus in your workbook is page 30. 30 has the quote, so page 31 to 37 you'll be going through to complete your workbook. At the end of your completion of your workbook, you'll be able to go back to pages 2 and 3 to finally complete your GPS, growth profit strategy. Because remember, we couldn't fill all the pieces in of the GPS until we finished all the parts of the training. So I'll tell you right now, when training 3 is done, you should have all of the information. You should be able to go back and complete that GPS. All right, sales. It is not about you. It's not about what you want. It's not about what you're in the mood for. It's not about what you feel like. It's not about when you're motivated or inspired. That's not how it works. Sales is about what they want. It's about what they need. It's about what they're looking for, what they're rolling around in bed, thinking about at night, what they're Googling. It's the language that they're using. We've talked about this a lot. It actually came up yesterday in the Q&A. A lot of times the gap between where we once were, which is usually our ideal client, and where we are today, the gap is sometimes too big that we don't actually remember what it felt like. We don't remember the language that we used to use. We don't really remember the pain because pain has no memory. And I made a joke yesterday. I don't have children yet, but I hear that's why we have multiple kids. Pain has no memory, right? So we think we remember, but I don't have to tell you what happens when we assume. We don't want to make assumptions in our business. Guessing is the most expensive thing that you can do in your business. So your content, your offers, everything you create, it shouldn't be about you. Now I hear you, the person on the other side of the screen who's like, yeah, but I want to be passionate about what I do and I love these things that I want to talk about, and that's great. I don't think we should be building businesses on passion because passion is uncontrollable emotion and passion is always changing. So rather teach on purpose. And when you teach on purpose, when you create on purpose, you can always find something to go back to. So I talked about it in the Q&A yesterday, and I said, does anyone here, I'm curious what you think, does anyone here think that I ever get bored teaching these concepts? Niche, ideal client, offer versus product. Does anyone in here think I get bored of that? For the record, I've been teaching the exact same thing since 2017. So it's almost 7 years I've been teaching this stuff. Yes, I definitely get bored. Oh, Jess says no. I absolutely get bored of this. There are plenty of days that I want to talk about different things, but it's not about me. My business is not meant to entertain me. It's here to serve you. Now, if I can't get excited about talking about the 3 Ps to a profitable niche today, what I can get excited about is new ways of teaching it, new analogies, new metaphors, new angles, new examples and explanations. I can get behind one person having a light bulb moment, one person saving that post, one person having a transformation from what I'm saying. But that's purpose. It's not passion. See the difference? So I can get behind my purpose at any given moment of any given day, because my purpose is what gets me out of bed in the morning. And I love nothing more than mind-blown emojis. Like, my favorite thing, it's like my love language when someone says, wow, I never thought of it like that. Wow, you just changed my mind. Right? Now, it's not even about where you are right now. We talked about the mall map. I need you to know where you are because I need you to know where you want to go, and the way you're going to get there in a GPS is by having both coordinates. But I'm not so focused about where you are. I want you to be super hyper focused and clear on where you want to go so that we can reverse engineer it. Everything we do in our company is reverse engineered. Everything I used to do in my fitness journey when I was a bodybuilding competition girl was all reverse engineered. If I want this result, how am I going to get there? I'm going to back myself into it. And when we're talking about sales today and launching, this is crucial. It's crucial. The worst thing that we can do is turn around tomorrow and say, hey, I'm launching this thing. Because there's a pretty good chance that our audience has no idea what we're talking about. We haven't preheated the oven at all. We haven't done market research. We haven't consistently talked about the thing enough to maybe even be looked at as an authority. So we're going to start reverse engineering with the end in mind. And for you, if you're here, likely your desired outcome is what we talked about on day 1, which is holistic freedom. And if holistic freedom is what you desire, time freedom, money freedom, energy freedom, location freedom, freedom of the mind, creativity, all of that, we know that we need to build an audience, impact, and create money. It's very simple. It's not always easy. So what's the input to get the output? What does it look like? I don't want you to continue pushing a boulder up the hill by yourself. When you understand sales and marketing, that's when it starts to feel like you're on a lunch tray going down the hill in the snow. That's what we used to do in college. We would take lunch trays out of the lunchroom. Did anyone else do this? I went to school in Rhode Island, so we had a lot of snow, and we'd go to the quad, and we would sit on those lunch trays. I feel like I'm dating myself. And we would fly down the mountain, and it was like the most fun. And that's what sales should feel like. The work for sales is done ahead of time. The work for sales is not pushing a boulder up a hill. If you want to make more income, you're going to need to make more impact. And if you want to make more impact, you'll likely make more income. It's this nice little machine that works together. I want to remind you of this. We showed this on day 1, and it could be really exciting and empowering, and it could equally be really overwhelming and a little discouraging. So this is a very basic breakdown of what a business machine looks like. And when we look at the business machine, we have marketing and sales and offers are really happening on the left side, which was the stuff before the sale. Then we have all the operations, and maybe you have team, that's the stuff that's happening in the middle. And then we have the fulfillment and the customer success, which is happening on the right side of your org chart that we talked about on day 1. When you remember, not when you master, when you remember that there's lots of pieces and parts and departments to your business, it will already start to feel a little bit lighter. I don't know if anyone had that experience the other day. Say yes if you did. But even when I just showed this to you on day 1, did you start to have like, oh, moments where you realized, oh, no wonder it's feeling overwhelming, or I'm sitting in all of those seats. Like, it's crazy that I'm expecting myself to do all these things. Yeah, it's just much clearer now, for sure, even if you're not doing everything. The most successful business owners and entrepreneurs have an understanding for this. Notice I did not say the most successful entrepreneurs have all of these things down on lock or have people hired in all these positions. No. They just have an understanding for this. They have that 30,000-foot view, and they can start to work in different departments at different times, and they can toggle through, and they can plug help in where they need help. And they also know that success leaves clues. So they're constantly looking for mentors. They're constantly looking for frameworks to help them collapse time. The idea of collapsing time, I'm using a book is like the best analogy. You can read a book about someone's life, a memoir. I just read Matthew Perry's book. Heartbreaking, but a great book. So what took him, 47 years or however old he was, 47 years of lessons to learn, I got to read in like 300 pages. That's collapsing time. I want to give you an example of someone who did that really, really well, and she continues to do that. This is Bridget. She's one of our OG clients. She's built really incredible businesses, but she came to us because she was burnt out doing the one-on-one thing. As a registered dietitian, great problem to have. Her calendar was too full. Great problem to have. But she also knew that that meant that she was capped. She couldn't help more people. She couldn't make more money. She plugged into the 30,000 foot view system that we had, and this is wild and not normal, but in 16 months created a 7-figure business. That's crazy. In a year and a half, she made $1 million in her coaching business. And then what she realized was, when we go backwards, here, she said, when I look at the machine, it's working and I'm doing it well and I'm making money. Holy moly is right. But I'm noticing areas of the business machine that I want to be in and areas I don't want to be in. And so she said, I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to ask for help. So she started hiring people, and she had another registered dietitian come in, took over the entire RD side of the business. And then Bridget stepped back, raised capital, now over $400,000 in capital, started a supplement company. So a consumer packaged good company, CPG products, called Gut Personal. And within 2 years, built that to $1 million business as well. And now has these two businesses running side by side. But she didn't do this all alone. She did this through plugging into a particular framework and understanding that sales is a service. Because she was so sick and tired of having clients come to her and ask, hey, is this probiotic good? And she'd say, no, it's garbage. Hey, is this prebiotic good? No, you don't need that. So she saw a gap in the market and wanted to help, and that's what she ended up doing. Pretty incredible stuff. Now, we've all experienced this before. Great marketers are not always great coaches. Do not say anyone's name in the chat box, please. We don't want to talk poorly. But we've all experienced where you're like, man, that marketing, it was so good, sexy, flashy, got me. Maybe you bought into a program and then you're like, there's like no substance in here. Like, I'm not really learning anything in here. I feel like I could have taught this. Or you're just like, this person, this particular coach, like they're not great with like the coaching aspect of it, but their marketing was great. And then on the same side, on the other same side of the coin, other side of the coin, I should say, great coaches are oftentimes not great marketers. A lot of people in this probably have experienced this. A lot of people in DBE Live probably have experienced this. You're like, I know I'm so good at what I do. I help people. I get transformations, but not enough people know about my stuff. If only people knew about my stuff. Has anyone ever felt like that? Where you're like, I know I'm such a good coach. I'm such a good teacher. I'm such a good leader. Becky said totally. But like, people just aren't seeing it. People aren't hearing it. There's a solution to this. And it starts with this one thing. Because the solution is not just to work harder. I'm all for hard work. I say it all the time. I mean, look at DBE Live. We have a 40-page workbook. I love work. But it's not just work harder, because there are people in here who already are the hardest working people that they know, the hardest working people that they know, and yet you're not getting the result that you desire. So more work, especially on the wrong thing, is not the solution. The solution is that great marketers are great listeners. When you can become a great, top-notch, expert, mastery, guru level listener, everything changes for your marketing. Why? Why do you think that is? If I can become the best listener in the entire world, how would that help my marketing? Think about that for a second. Marketing by nature is me sharing stories, poking at pain, poking at pleasure, not in a bad way, but pointing out pain and pleasure, and offering solutions. So if I become a better listener, now I'm using your language, I'm understanding how you're feeling, and I'm creating for you, not for me. Becoming a great listener allows me to deepen relationships, know, like, and trust. It lets me become a better coach while becoming a better marketer. And you can do this. It's free. It's easy. Yeah, it's all about knowing your audience. Now, we went over on day 2 how to create an irresistible offer. But I want to get into the nitty-gritty. So would it be valuable if you actually knew not just how to create the offer, but how to sell the offer? Now, that's a rhetorical question, because I know the answer to that. But when you become a great listener, by nature, you can become a great marketer with practice. You likely are already a great coach. That's why you're here, because you're like, I'm a great coach, but I don't know how to get it out into the world. And so now you have this magic formula where you can leverage your time, your knowledge, and your skills over and over. You can leverage the same offer over and over with the same messaging, with the same marketing, with minor little tweaks. That's what we've done with Empower since 2018. I mean, 6 years. It's the same thing over and over, but every time it gets better. And you know what that makes me? It makes it easier for me because I continue to understand it better, more, deeper, and then it's easier for me to talk about it. So on day one, we discussed the iceberg effect, and we talked about the stuff at the top where we're often focusing on things when it comes to sales, like webinars and challenges, and you'll see this on the screen in just a moment, don't worry. And we're thinking about funnels and email sequences and affiliates and ads and all the stuff at the top. But what we really want to focus on is everything on the bottom. And we talked about this already. And when it comes to sales, on the bottom is know, like, and trust. The bottom is rapport building. It's conversations. It's market research. It's authority. It's credibility. It's deeper understanding. There's a lot of things that have to happen on the bottom so that it makes the top lighter. The work for a launch or the work for a sale or the work for an offer is done before the offer. It's kind of like when we were talking about the other day, sell it first and then build your product after, and you kind of freak out because it's really scary. If you get to a sale, a launch, an invitation, an offer, and it's not converting, that doesn't mean that your offer sucks. It doesn't mean that you are not worthy. It doesn't mean that your idea isn't going to work, and it doesn't mean that you should change the price. What it usually means is that the stuff beforehand just missed a little bit, and it might just not have been enough time. So I'm going to share a story with you. This is my husband, Mike. He's always behind the camera, so you never get to see him. He's so handsome. He's the most handsome. We got engaged a long time ago. We're actually going to be married 8 years in like 3 weeks, which is so exciting. Yeah, I'm getting a hand clap in the audience. Thank you. When Mike proposed to me, well, I'll tell you what he did in just a moment. But I want you to realize in this story that I'm going to share with you that sales is like dating. And I don't mean like dating in the DMs, which people talk about. No, sales is like dating. So if anyone here has ever been proposed to someone, or just watched a chick flick, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if a stranger came up to you in the bar and got down on one knee and asked you to marry them, would you say yes? Let me know in the chat box. Be honest. Stranger comes up to you in a bar, doesn't even know your name, gets down and says, will you marry me? You say, heck no, hard no, absolutely not. Right. Why? Think about it for a second. Why? Because when Mike proposed to me many years ago, I knew, unless it was Chris Evans, I knew that I was going to say yes. It didn't matter what the ring looked like. Beautiful, but didn't matter. Didn't matter what he was wearing, what music was playing. None of that mattered. I already knew that I was going to say yes. Yes. And the reason that I knew I was going to say yes is because before he asked me, we had built know, like, and trust. We had built a credibility together. We had difficult conversations, easy conversations. We had built memories together. We'd been through experiences together. We had mutual feelings. In fact, we had even discussed, do we want to get married one day? So by the time he asked me, I already knew it was going to be a yes. It was just a matter of him asking. Now, on the flip side of that, you probably also know if it's going to be a no, and you're kind of hoping they don't ask because you don't want to have to say no, and that's super awkward. But my point is that you already know in your head. People already know if they want what you're going to sell them. They're just waiting for you to sell it to them. There, in fact, were people before we even started DBE Live who knew that they wanted to work with me, or they wanted to come into Empower or one of our other programs. And they might just be waiting for the invitation. They might just be waiting for the doors to open. And there might be situations where the invitation comes out, the doors open, and actually it's not the right time. But I've actually received DMs from people, even during DBE Live, where people have said, I will work with you one day. That's sales. I haven't asked if they want to marry me. I haven't asked if you want to join my program. But when you have people saying, I want to work with you, I want to join your program, you're my person, you've done a great job at the marketing part. And that's what we're going to talk about today. When you understand marketing and sales, here are some really cool results that you can get. And again, I have thousands of these. It's crazy. 7 women joined, $15,000, $17,000 in the last 30 days, 4K on a $50 book that I'm selling on Amazon. My website blueprint product is out. $3K came in, $12,000, new clients. I mean, this is what gets to happen. This is what gets to happen, and you can do it whenever you want because you have the skill of marketing and messaging and sales, and you know how to launch, and you can launch anything at any time. And those results that I was just sharing, website design, feminine liberation, run coaching, disordered eating, Airbnb, house flipping, and personal training, that's what these results are from. So lots of different niches. It doesn't have to be, oh, it only works for business coaches because they help people make money. That's not true at all. Now it's time to talk launch. Okay, are we ready? We're getting into it. Time to talk launch. So there are 4 big things that I want to talk about today when it comes to launch, and these should make you feel a little bit lighter, a little bit more empowered, and they should help with the magnetism of people wanting to work with you. So I love diagrams. Here's your little diagram. It's a 4, 3, 2, 1. We've got 4 main phases that we're going to go over, except I actually teach 8. But to be a 4, 3, 2, 1, I had to say 4. We've got 3 critical outcomes, 2 intentions, and 1 formula. And we're going to be writing all of this down in your workbook, so make sure you have those pages. I want to keep it really simple for you. Now, I love books. In fact, I shared my reading list, the reading vault with the speed reading training in the Facebook group. It's pinned at the top of the page, and you can go in and you can find the book Launch. So Jeff Walker wrote the book Launch. Did anyone ever read that book? It's got a blue cover. It's called Launch. If we can hang on the screen for just a second. So Jeff Walker teaches the pre-launch, the pre-launch, the launch, and the post-launch. So this is what he teaches. It's a fabulous book. I encourage everybody to go read it. I have added 4 more because I really think that there are 8 phases to a launch. Now, we cannot get into all this today. Go ahead and take a screenshot if you want of this. Happy to talk more about it. But the idea here is like preheating the oven, doing your market research, letting people know that the offer and invitation is coming, and then, of course, delivering on that. Now, I'll give you a quick little kind of an analogy. I actually don't have the slide in here, but I do it during presentations a lot. So back in 1996, dating myself again, there was a movie that came out, very popular movie at the time. Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet. Does anybody know what it was? Come on. 1996, people, Titanic. Okay, so I actually Googled this information to make sure I was correct. And in December, the year before it came out, we started to see just a little bit of buzz that Leo and Kate were filming a new movie with James Cameron. Whew, that's all we knew. And then in the following winter, so about this time, 1996, March time, February, March, they started to do just like a couple little interviews, and there was a tiny little trailer. They were on the boat, and that's pretty much all we saw. Titanic, coming soon. And then as it got closer, over the summer, the trailer started to get longer. And now they're both on like every talk show. They're doing all these interviews. There's so much hype. By the time we got to September of 1996, the trailer was 4 minutes long. We knew that there was a horrible crash. The door scene at the end, I mean, come on. And at this point, you're like, I need to know what happens. And then boom, the holidays, back then you could say Christmas 1996, it came out. They spent an entire year teasing us. They spent an entire year in launch, dripping things out, getting us excited. That's what I want you to do with your launches. The work is done up front. The work is not done when you open the doors. A huge mistake coaches make is that they beg when the doors are open. They try to convince when the doors are open. That's not where it happens. It's all happening before. So that's why we've got 8 different phases of launch. And I said so many times in day 2, you're never not launching. Can you see here how you're never not launching? Because you're always in a phase of launch. That's the nature of business. A huge misconception with launch is that people think it's all about the sales system, or they're focused on the wrong thing, product, not offer. They think that they're so concerned about the sales system, they're not focusing on what's actually bringing people into the launch. And that's often called a vehicle. So here are just some ideas. And you can, again, screenshot if you want. This is not black and white, be all end all. It's black and teal, obviously, right? So some vehicles for launch could be a live webinar, a studio production, a challenge. It could be an email series. It can be a back-end continuation or a membership. It could be social media posts and promo, just a bunch of story slides. But that's a launch type. It's a launch vehicle. And then the purpose of the vehicle is to help you sell them. It's to help overcome objections or manage objections. It's to create demand and desire for the thing that you have. It's to bring awareness to the product or the program. It's to show proof of what's possible, what other people did. It's to create the Hollywood hype, That's what we want. It answers questions and fears before you put the invitation out. So your launch vehicle or launch type is dating. This is the dating before the proposal. When the proposal comes in, because of all of this, I already know my answer. Does that make sense? Oh, great. Someone said yes. Now I get it. Okay, awesome. Does that make sense? So sales is just like dating. And that's where we want to put a little time into it. We want to put a little effort into it. I'm curious if anyone has tried any of these launch systems or vehicles before. Has anyone ever tried a webinar or a masterclass, anything like this? You can just say me in the chat box if you have. Yes. Okay. Amazing. Awesome. I love it. Now, it can be easy though too. Again, I shared you don't need to be in a studio doing all this fancy schmancy with the production team. It can just be you posting on social media or sending an email. Now, there are 3 basic types of enrollment when you're about to propose. When you're ready to drop that invitation or that offer, there's 3 basic types of enrollment. And we started to talk about this in yesterday's bonus live because people were asking questions about memberships. So let's talk for a second. We've got open, closed, we've got rolling, and we've got open. They all have pros and cons. The pros and cons list is based off of my opinion and beliefs, right? And you're going to have your own opinion and beliefs. And the key here is that you build your business around your life and not your life around your business. So if you know that you don't want to constantly be on and coaching and selling, something like open or rolling is not going to be the best for you. So let's break down. Open closed is when you open the invitation or you open the doors or you open the program and then you close the doors, and for a limited time it's available. Now this is what we do with Empower. We actually only open it 1 time a year, and then it runs for 12 weeks. It's actually about 16 weeks when all is said and done, but it runs for 12 weeks and it ends. I love open close because as a school teacher, it allows me to come in. All of my energy and focus is in that. It's in my clients. It's in the program. I move everybody through the program at the same time. I make sure that we're all hitting the marks that we want to hit in the program, and then we graduate at the same time. Now I have other offers that might be a little bit different. And you can have multiple things going at the same time. So imagine we had an ongoing membership that you could join. Let's say $40 a month. We have this incredible membership that you can join. Something like that would likely be rolling or just open. Meaning if it were rolling, it's anyone can come in at any time, but maybe we start little mini cohorts. And so maybe 4 times a year for the 4 seasons, we do a little launch. We bring a bunch of people in, and then they're part of the spring class or the fall class, right? So it's it's always open, but you kind of get put into a cohort. Or you're coached with one particular coach or style for the first month that you're in there, and then you graduate into a different thing for the second month, and then so on and so forth. And then open enrollment typically is most memberships is open enrollment. You can join whenever you want. It's like an app. You can join the app whenever you want. You pay monthly. Maybe you get a discount if you buy a bunch of months in advance or a year in advance. But generally apps and memberships are just going to be open. Rolling is a little bit trickier, but it's kind of an ongoing sales process. But when they come into the program, there's some structure, and then open closed is a harder structure. It's a start stop. And again, you have to see what's going to work best for you. What's going to work best for your life? What's the most exciting for you? Now, what I will say real quick before I jump into the next slide is that launches are not dead. There's a lot of talk on the internet that launches are dead. That is marketing. So what that is marketing to people who have had pain with launches. So someone who has experienced struggle with a launch, challenge with a launch, had a hard time with the launch, or a launch didn't go their way. When someone says, launches are dead, come work with me, I'll teach you how to do it without launching, they're just focusing on the pain of you've struggled with launches, so I'm going to market towards that, and then I'm going to teach you how to launch just in a different way. So that idea in itself is generally targeting the open closed. You tried it and it didn't work, so come to my program. And when you come into my program, I'm actually just going to teach you how to do it all the time, because that's the idea of it is you don't have to launch, but if you're always open, then newsflash, you're always launching. So it could be worse. You know what I mean? Okay, that's kind of the process here with different types of enrollment. So we know that we have these critical outcomes we've talked about. We've got the foundation, the marketing, and the sales. because we want to make the impact and the income. We want all the pieces so we can hit the financial and the creative and the time and the location, the holistic freedom, which means at the end of the day, there are two intentions that we all have. Two. Very simple. Impact and income. When we lose sight of these things, business will likely not work. When we focus too much on one of them and we tip the scale into one direction, business will likely not work. Or you become resentful or burnt out. And I've been there. Now, with intention, I want you to realize what intention is. Intention towards impact and income. Intention means that you're connected to your vision. I'm connected to the vision that I have. I'm connected to the purpose that I have. I'm not worried about what I'm passionate about today. I'm connected to the bigger picture. That's an intention. And when I can make an intention of making an impact, I can do things like show up for these studio days and talk for hours and hours and hours and still be so excited and still be lit up and still be so fulfilled at the end of the day. We have to be mindful with our intentions that we don't just create expectations for ourselves. When we expect, especially in a launch or with sales, your expectation that you create will be the experience that you have. Now I'm going to drop another book. I'm not affiliated with any of these books, by the way. I just love them. Christine Hassler wrote the book called Expectation Hangover. I think it's like an orangey, pinkish, reddish kind of a cover. It's also in the reading vault. Great book. Has anyone read it? Expectation Hangover. Changed my life when I read it. It's one of those books where it's like the same concept over and over, but it was like the concept that I really needed because I realized that an expectation, this is a good one, write this one down, an expectation is a promise that you made, whether it's to yourself or another person, that was never actually signed off on, and then it was broken. Hold on. Especially when we're talking about other people. When you expect your partner, you expect your parent, you expect your child to do something, what you're actually doing is creating a contract in your head with this person that you have not discussed with. They did not sign off on it. And then when they didn't do it, they didn't rise to the occasion, they didn't magically know through telepathy that they were supposed to do this thing, then you're let down. You're frustrated. So when you create an expectation with yourself, I expect 5 people to be in my program. I expect it to work. I expect it to be easy. I expect to make 10K. And then you don't, you're left disappointed because the expectation that you created equals the experience that you have. And then because we're humans and we're meaning-making machines, we go down this spiral trying to make it mean something about us because we got to make sense of it. So it must just mean that I suck. It's got to mean that I'm not the person to do it. It must mean I shouldn't have tried. She's better than me. He's better than me. I don't have enough followers. My email list isn't big enough. I'm just going to quit. That's what we do when our launch doesn't work. It's crazy. It's crazy. Don't judge your carrot. We talked about this of impact and income. Don't judge your carrot. We've worked with clients who are homeless. We've worked with clients who live in cars. We worked with clients who have debt, who are cancer survivors, whose kids are going through cancer treatment. Your carrot of why you want to make money is not bad. It doesn't make you a bad person. Wanting to create money for yourself, wanting to be able to pay your own bills, wanting to be able to help retire your parents, whatever it would be, even if it's because you want to buy a sports car, it's not bad. It's just yours. So own it with the intention that when you make an impact, you'll make an income. And this is a beautiful cycle here. Now, this next slide is probably my favorite slide. I say it all the time when I say stuff like that. I feel like a lot of slides are my favorite. But this one is really going to make a difference in your life. So get your notebooks out, get your pen ready. We're going there. It's the one single formula. It's the only thing that you need to know when it comes to launch. Here it is. It's kind of written weird because it didn't fit on one line together. A free experience, I'll break it all down for you, plus an offer, minus an objection, plus a deadline, equals a sale. This is it. This is a launch. It's kind of like we all have a funnel, whether you like it or not. You already have a funnel. It's nothing to freak out about. So a free experience can go back to a couple slides ago when we started to talk about the launch vehicle. It could be your content. It can be email. It could be social media. It could be a webinar, a masterclass, or a challenge that you're hosting. It could be as big or as small as you want it to. But a free experience is how people experience you for free. This is dating. This is dating. This is what they're experiencing for free. Every time someone lands on your Instagram page, that's a free experience. They listen to you on a podcast episode, free experience. They go to your YouTube channel, free experience, so on and so forth. Now your offer, we spent a whole day talking about your offer, so it's not your product, but it's your invitation, it's your proposal. The objections that you're going to minus are not objections that you're going to handle. I don't handle objections, I help manage objections. And it doesn't disempower people. Oh, you're not ready. You're not ready. Yeah, okay, well now I'm definitely not ready because I don't feel good about myself. Managing objections is helping people see things in a different way. It's done ahead of time. It's done in the marketing. It's not done when you're asking for the ring. It's not done when you're asking for the proposal. Now, adding a deadline is because we humans, as much as we think we want more time, we don't want more time. We want a deadline. Make me move. Give me a deadline, because when you don't, has anyone ever experienced this? My mom always says this quote to me because I used to be the queen of this. She would always say, he or she who hesitates is lost. And over the years, she's dropped the is lost part, and she's just like, well, she who hesitates, because I was the queen of waiting with things in the cart. Or I'd see something like at the mall that I wanted, but I didn't buy it. And then I'd wait, like, I don't know if I was waiting for it to go on sale or waiting for permission or whatever I was waiting for. And then, go figure, it would be gone. They wouldn't have any more size 7s left of the shoe that I wanted. And then I would be upset. We don't need more time. We need a deadline. That doesn't mean you have to use scarcity tactics and urgency that makes people feel disempowered, but just give me a deadline. Just let me know. In fact, we have replays up of DBE Live, but they're not going to be available forever. And that's very intentional. Part of the reason that they're not going to be up forever is because I know that you know that if they were up forever, you likely wouldn't watch them. That's what happens because we get busy with life and it's not a priority. And I don't take that personally that you don't make my lives a priority, but we give you a deadline for the replays and we say they're only going to be available for X amount of days so that you actually watch them, so that you actually do the work, right? And then when all of this comes together, you will likely end up with a sale. This formula is a launch. You are never not launching. I teach all of this inside of Empower, and we break it down. So let's look at it in a different way, because I'm a very visual person, visual learner. So on the left, we've got our free experience, and that's the vehicle, like I said, the webinar, the challenge, etc. In the middle, moving over, we've got the offer. That's your promise, your process, your position, and your price, but it is not your product. The 7 elements to doing that, we talked about it on Tuesday, and I put up a social media post with Falcor, and you can save it and you can go back to it anytime you want. And I gave you the steps in that post as well. It's a reel from 2 days ago. And then we move into objections, and objections are beliefs rooted in fear that our future potential customers have that prevent them from buying. That's what an objection is. It's a belief rooted in fear that's keeping me from buying. Now, objections can be reality, which is circumstance, or it could be belief. And that is or is not for you to discern, but we can break that down even further. And then the deadline creates the container that actually empowers your audience to make a decision. Otherwise, they're just going to continue to put it off. The transformation starts with the transaction. And it does not mean you have to swipe a credit card. Who here took a second to think, let me know in the chat, before you put your email in to join DBE Live? Like, I don't know. She didn't tell me the dates of it. Am I going to be able to go? Do I want to go live? I have a lot going on. I might, whatever, screw it. Just put it in. Yeah, multiple seconds. The transformation that you're receiving here during a free training came from the transaction of you putting your email in. It doesn't have to be a credit card swipe to be a transaction. It could be a virtual raise hand. I need help. I got to ask a question. It could be a reach out. It could be a DM. It could be a credit card swipe. But the deadline creates the container to say, well, make a decision. Make a decision because it's going to go away. Right? Okay. Now, the cool thing is, what I want for you more than anything is before the offer even comes, people start asking you about the thing. And the thing that they're asking about is your product because they think they know what it is, even though you haven't told them the offer yet. Now this happens. This just happened to me. It's been happening. A couple of you have already asked me about Empower, but I laugh because I haven't told you anything yet. You just know the name of it, right? Now, of these 4 sections, free experience, offer, objection, and deadline, hopefully you get this right. Which one would you want to learn more about? Because I'm going to go deeper on one of these. But if you get it wrong, my slides won't make sense. So no pressure here. But which one of these 4 do you want me to go deeper on? I'm going to take a sip of water. You think about that for a second. Oh, God, Shana got it right. Thank goodness. The first one came in. We're going to talk about objections. Now, here's the thing. A bunch of you, before I said yes, a bunch of you would likely say objection. How is it that I knew that objection was going to be the thing that you wanted to talk about? Go back to a couple slides ago. I've been doing something for a lot of years and I've been doing it really, really well. And it has my skills coming into play here. I've been listening. I've been listening to my audience. I've been listening to what you want. I've been listening to what you need. I've been listening to my clients. And because I've been doing such a good job listening over the years, I knew that objections are a sticky point for a lot of us. So let's talk about objections, shall we? Like I said, they're beliefs rooted in fear. They're stories that we've created that could prevent us from buying. There's the reality. I had a baby yesterday. It's not a good time. You're right. I'm not going to manage or handle that. You're right. I don't really know, like, how many weeks is your program? When are the calls? Are they recorded? What I'm hearing, as someone who's been doing sales for a really long time, what I'm hearing is, well, those are beliefs that you have. So if I were to draw, maybe one day we'll have like the ability for me to just draw on here. That'd be so fun. If I were to draw a tree, imagine at the top of the tree we have, oh, here we go. Here's my fake ficus. My faux ficus. Okay, at the top of the tree, we have the leaves, and then we have the trunk. My goodness, the trunk, and then under the ground, we have the roots. Okay. When somebody asks this surface level thing of like, when are the calls? Now, I know that sometimes it's because I just had a baby and I need to know when the calls are, but a lot of times it's like, how long is the program? How many weeks is it? When are the calls? How many people are going to be in there? I just don't know. And they just keep coming back with more questions, and you answer the questions as best you can and then keep coming back with more questions. What they're actually saying is not what's happening in the leaves up here. This is the belief. What they're actually saying is at the trunk level. And what they mean is, I'm not sure that this is right for me because I've experienced something in the past where I didn't get the result that I wanted, and I need to make the decision as is your detail the same as the detail from the last thing that I did that didn't work. And what your job is to go under the leaves, under the trunk, and get to the root. It's like our gut people who get to the root cause. We don't want to just put a Band-Aid on it. We want to get to the root cause. So for you as a marketer, you want to get to the root cause. And the root cause is the stuff under the ground. It's the beliefs that we talked about on day one. Beliefs, thoughts, feelings, decisions, actions, results. What they're not really worried about is how many calls there are or what day the calls are on. What they're worried about is that the last time they tried it didn't work. And what that really means is, are they going to sabotage themselves again? Are they not going to follow through again? Do you actually have things in place to safeguard against them from slipping, because they have a pattern of slipping? They have a pattern of allowing themselves to get overwhelmed and fall behind. Now, what you would want to do is in your messaging and your marketing ahead of time in all of those phases of launching before you do the proposal, you want to bring light to that stuff. And you want to talk about it. And this is where knowing the types of learners and types of buyers is a superpower. Because when I know that there are different types of learners and there's different types of buyers, now I'm going to talk through things in very different ways. And I'm going to create content, social media, emails, podcasts that's going to speak to all of these different things. And now I'm managing objections before they come up. But I'm not handling trying to bully you. I'm not handling telling you that you're wrong about how you feel, right? So this is cool. This was from one of our clients. I actually don't remember if we're going to be sharing this one. It's a bit tough for me to read, but this came in from a client. She said, I just took my first payment. That sales call role play was gold. I listened to it while I was at physical therapy. And then 2 hours later, she messaged me and she said, update, 2 signups just came in. Again, that sales call role play helped so much. It reminded me to be my normal self, be an empathetic human, and it also reminded me to get to business. Something that we do to make sure that our clients feel super supported is things like role playing, is really practicing the art of sales, because it's both art and science. I got to share this gal with you. This is Andrea actually is how she says her name. She is incredible. She came to us, she moved to the States when she was 18. Her parents still don't live here. She's here alone by herself. And well, now she's happily married, young gal. And she came to us at 21. She was just about 21 when she came to us. She had actually worked for TikTok, which is really cool. And she had this belief, this story. She wanted to join us for years, but she had this belief that she was too young and no one would take her seriously. I don't know if anyone on here is experiencing that, but that is very common. There's also the other side of that coin. I'm too old. No one will care. I'm too old. No one's going to want to work with me. No one's going to take me seriously if I'm on social media. So she assumed that her age would dictate her result. She came in and we worked a lot on her beliefs. We worked a lot on her mindset. And we actually did a podcast episode. It's episode 42. We've got like 200 of them, but it's episode 42. She talks about her story. She's just incredible. And so where she is today and what happened after we got to the root cause of her beliefs, we changed those beliefs and we rewrote them. While she was in Empower, she landed DJ Tiesto as a client. Does anyone know who Tiesto is? Like, I'm a club girl, so to me, I was fangirling so hard, but at first we weren't allowed to talk about it. I knew, but we weren't allowed to talk about it publicly. She 10x'd her one-on-one rates. She had a $17,000 launch. Could you imagine being 21 years old and having a $17,000 cash injection like that? By 3 months after, she was hitting 20K months consistently. She had a repeatable system in her business. She ended up moving into what was on her vision board. She moved into that apartment, got married. Her clients have gone viral, landed TED Talks, the list goes on. She ended up raising $200,000 at 22 years old for an NFT project. And now she's working with companies like TikTok, Adobe, and Netflix. She literally has a show coming out on Netflix right now that she is a director to, which is so cool. But had she not worked through some of those limiting beliefs that she had, she wouldn't be where she is today. I'm not taking credit for her success, but what I am taking credit for is holding up a mirror and saying, girlfriend, like, we've got stuff we can work on, and it's not the leaves, and it's not the trunk, it's under the roots, but you got to trust me here, right? You got to trust me here. And the reason that she landed in my world in the first place was because of the content that I was putting out ahead of time. I didn't even know who she was. This is the majority of my clients. I never oftentimes know who they are. They just appear. They decide they want to work with me. And then I'm like, how'd you find me? Oh, I've been following you for 3 years. Wow. Tomato seeds. I've been following you for 3 years. Could you imagine that I quit or I gave up? Because they didn't say yes to an invitation 3 years ago, but they weren't ready. They didn't know. They weren't sure. We had to do more dating. And a lot of times, like I said, they're the silent follower. She wasn't DMing me. She wasn't commenting on things. Yeah, we're on our own time schedule. I love this story so much. I think this is is it called a parable? A parable? A parable? I don't know what it's called. Okay, so this story, I just think this resonates so much with so many of us. So there are people who are working hard, who are working long hours, and they're not seeing the result they want, right? And that's some of us here. And there are people who maybe have the strategy but are missing the mindset. There are people who've got the mindset but are missing the strategy. So here's a story. I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but it goes like this. And I always picture just an old golden retriever when I hear this story. There was a man who would go to work every single day, suit and tie, and he'd be walking to work, and every day that he would walk past to get to the train, to the bus, he'd have to walk by this old man, his neighbor. And this old man would sit on his rocking chair on his porch, and next to him was this old dog. And every day the man would rock and he was reading his newspaper, or maybe it was a Kindle, I don't know, in my head it's a newspaper. And every day the man in the suit would walk by and the dog would just be whining, crying, yelping. And day after day the man in the suit would say, "Sir, is your dog okay?" And every day the man in the rocking chair would say, "Oh yeah, he's fine. Oh yeah, he's fine." And finally one day the man in the suit stopped and he said, "Sir, every day this dog is whining and crying. Like, is he okay? Should I be worried about him? What is going on?" And the man in the rocking chair said, "Oh yeah, that's just because he's laying on a nail." And the man in the suit said, "Then why doesn't he get up?" And the old gentleman said, "Well, because the pain isn't bad enough. The pain is not enough for him to get up. So he just lays on the nail and day after day he just cries and he whines about it." There are so many of us living in that scenario in our life. It's like not good. It's not great. It's like good is the enemy of great. That was my story of when I left teaching. I was just a little unfulfilled. I was just a little unhappy. I felt like the ceiling was caving in. But it took a couple years for me to finally leave, because it was like, well, it's not that bad. How many of us have done that, especially in our life, right? Business aside, in our life, you're like, it's not that bad. You stay in a relationship for like an extra year because you don't want to approach the difficult conversation of the breakup. So instead you stick around in the discomfort. You know, it's so funny that they call it, or 11 years, they call it the comfort zone. It's like the most uncomfortable place to be. Your comfort zone. It's nice in winter when you're snuggled up on the couch with a fire and a blanket. But other than that, nobody wants to stay in their comfort zone. I must be laying on a bed of nails. A lot of us do. And we wait until the pain gets so bad, until the rusty nail creates an infection that we have to get up. And we have no other choice. I don't want that to be you. And the reason that we do that is because we create the stories and we create the objections to keep us safe. So we say that the discomfort is enough comfort. I don't need more money. This is a huge one. We have so much work we get to do around our money mindset. I don't need more money. It's fine. I'm fine. I have enough. But do you? Do you have enough to do the things that you want to do? Don't judge your carrot. Maybe you want to build a school in Africa like we did. That took money. That's taken money. That continues to take money for us to support that school. Maybe you want to retire your spouse or write a check to your parents. I was able to write a check to my dad. It was nothing crazy, but it was enough to give him the mental safety to finally retire. He was 75 years old and he finally retired. It was just a little bit, but it was enough to get him over the hump. Like maybe that's part of your why. But we create these objections. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. My spouse isn't supportive. I'm too old. I'm too young. It's too saturated. I don't know enough. And the rare occasion, those things are circumstance. They are reality. So you need to know yourself. This is why awareness is the first step. Awareness is key, because it might not be your season to go out and crush it, to be going and hustling and building a business. It might not be your season right now. If you just had a baby, you're moving into a new house, you just had a divorce. They're not objections for a coach to handle. It's your life for you to manage. Do you get that? So many entrepreneurs are stuck thinking that they're missing this one thing. And they're focused on the wrong thing. They think that they're missing this one thing when it comes to launching. And the thing they think that they're missing is leads. And I have been here. If I just had more leads. Really? Karen, would that be the thing? If you just had more leads? Tom, if your stuff isn't converting right now to the leads that you do have, why do you think it would convert if you brought in more people? Why do you think it would magically change and you'd make more sales when there were more people there? Do you even have the capacity or energy to hold more leads or more clients? Expectations. We think that we deserve is a funny thing. Humans, we think we deserve things. We deserve more. I deserve more people. I use this analogy all the time about a barbecue. You know, you invite 20 friends over for a barbecue. You go to Costco, you get the pinwheels, you get the little snacks, you make sure you have 20 chairs in the backyard, and you're so excited for your barbecue, and word gets out on the street. That neighbor that you have, that nosy Nancy, she tells everybody about it, and the day of the party, 200 people show up. Did you really need more leads? You're not set up for more leads. You don't have enough chairs or food for more leads. Now all of a sudden you're in this frantic scramble of I've got 200 people at my house and I only had room for 20 and I don't even know who half of these people are. Systems and structure in your business create the freedom and the ability for you to expand. You cannot expand before you contract. That's the way that it works. In and out, in and out. You don't need more leads. That's not actually the thing. That's kind of like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom and expecting it to fill up. So let's go back to the 6-figure framework and focus on the first part, which is the attraction. It's not about more leads, but I do want you to think about how are you currently attracting leads? Where's the best place? Where are they hanging out? Are they qualified leads? What is working for you? How do you pour gasoline on that fire? What is not working for you? Something really cool that you can do, you can journal on this, and I'll give it to you here. You can journal on this. This is going to help you understand why people actually do follow you. So take a step back for a second and ask yourself, pick someone. It could be me. It doesn't have to be me. Pick someone that you follow and say, wait a minute, why do I follow them? Why do I trust them? Why do I admire them? What about their branding or their energy or their results or their content do I like and that I'm engaged in? And then ask yourself this tough question. To what degree are you actually demonstrating the same leadership qualities that they are? To what degree are you actually doing the things that they're doing that you're so attracted to? What causes followers is leadership. A lot of people don't teach leadership. We're lacking leadership skills. Leadership is why people are attracted to you. Leadership is what people expect when they come to your page. But leadership can be taught. Now, we've talked about this before. I remember writing it on the board when we did the bonus training on Saturday. When you teach people how to think, they'll likely come back to learn. When you teach people how to think, they will come back to learn. And when they come back to learn is generally when they come back to buy. And that cycle of you attracting them and them wanting to learn from you and then wanting to buy from you, that is what causes a thought leader. That's how you become a thought leader, right? What makes a coach or a content creator or an entrepreneur a thought leader is when they stand up and teach you how to think. Anyone can tell you the 3 ways to a profitable niche. Anybody can teach you how to make a reel on Instagram. So many gurus out there can teach you the 7-step framework to what you need to do to write a hook. People don't just want how to. If we just wanted how to, we'd go to the encyclopedia, and we're not doing that. We're not going to the encyclopedia to learn. We're going to Google, we're going to YouTube, we're going to coaches, and we're going to Instagram profiles because we want to learn from people, because people buy from people. And the reason we want to learn from people is because people have things to say. When people stand up and say, this is what I believe in and what I don't, this is who I stand for and what I don't, here's a funny thing that I think is funny or not, we have an instant connection. We're going to play a game right here, okay? We're going to play a game real quick in the chat box. If any of these things resonate with you, just say me in the chat box. Okay, number 1, I have an older brother. If you have an older brother, say me. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to University of Rhode Island. I was a gymnast growing up. I lived in an RV. My husband and I worked together. I have a dog. I can give you all of these things about me, and people are saying me, 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 me. When I stand up and I say what I believe in and who I stand for and what I stand for, that's why people come back. That's what they want to learn from me for. It's not because I have a dog that they join my program, but it's because I have a dog that they're like, oh, this resonates. This resonates. She's had loss. She's gone through grief. She's on a fertility journey. All the, like, oh, me too, me too, me too. Something that I love so much is that we actually teach the 5 levels of leadership. We have an entire module. I do not teach it because I will never teach anything outside of my legal scope of practice, and I am not a therapist. So we have a psychotherapist who has an entire module teaching rapport, how to create a safe container backed by science, the 5 levels of leadership. So it's not just about what do you post on social media and how do you create a really good sales funnel. It's how do you show up as a leader. It's how are you building an audience and a community, which by the way are 2 different things, by being a leader. It's like one of my favorite things that we get to talk about. It sets you on a different bar. It just sets you on a different playing field. Now, most people want more audience, more reach, more followers, right? Like, I need more leads. But I just told you, if you had a barbecue and all those people showed up, you don't need more leads. If you have 10 people and you ask 10 people, you propose to 10 of them, here's my offer, here's my invitation, and all 10 say no, do you need more leads or do you need to work on your offer? I think you need to work on your offer. I think you need to work on your messaging. I think maybe you need more time. What we have to recognize is that a follower does not equal a qualified lead. Someone who follows you doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to buy from you. If you're like me, a multi-passionate human with a lot of dimension, I follow a lot of accounts. So I posted the other day like this beautiful, it was probably AI, but it was a beautiful island, like a kitchen island, but it was made out of amethyst. And I reposted it because I follow a lot of home decor. I love following home decor and design. I follow dog accounts. I follow clothing accounts. I love accessories, obviously. But I'm not necessarily a qualified lead because I have no interest or desire at all to buy anything from any of those places. So just because I follow that page does not mean I'm a qualified lead. Or who here, oh my gosh, yeah, you saw it. Who here follows those like quadrillion, $1 million homes? You see them in your feed, you're like, oh my God, that's like insane. It's like 40,000 square foot home overlooking the ocean on the edge with the pool, the infinity pool, probably has unicorn tears in it like we talked about the other day. You follow them, but like you're not a qualified lead. I don't know that any of us are ready to put out like $100 million for a house. Could you imagine the down payment for that thing? Right? So we're not a qualified lead just because we follow somebody. In fact, we all have heard stories of people who have a lot of followers, a lot of influencers who struggle to make sales. We've had a really high percentage of people come through Empower that are influencers, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million followers, and they're not making any money because they don't know how to sell. They don't know how to create an offer, and they don't even know what they want to sell because they don't really know what they're an expert in. They maybe have been selling other products for other companies, but nothing for themselves yet. Now, for privacy purposes, this client did say, please don't use my face or my name. So we'll call her Becky. But this was a very large influencer that we've worked with. And she was a health and wellness influencer. She did some YouTube, some blogging, and she had almost 300,000 followers on Instagram when we started working together. Now, she was doing $350,000 to about $500,000 in influencer deals a year, which is incredible. So she would promote a brand, they would pay her. She'd put up a post, they would pay her. But she had never sold anything of her own. And as she was approaching her mid-30s, she had this realization of, this is crazy. I've built this like massive audience over the years, but I don't own anything that I sell. And if any of these companies drop me, which is what was happening with the shutdown, if these companies drop me or they run out of marketing money, then I'm not able to make more money. So she came to me and said, could you please help me create something? We created a $45 membership, which for someone with a really large audience, low ticket memberships could be great. They could be great because she does have a lot of people. When she started to understand what to do with that and how to launch it, she was able to create just under $1 million in her first year. Now it's really easy for you to go like, well, yeah, I mean, she had 300,000 followers. Yes, but she didn't know how to sell anything before we started working together. And then when she figured it out, she was able to sell something. She was able to offer something. And the irony was her audience was like, thank you. We have been waiting. Why did it take you so long? I've wanted to marry you. I was waiting for you to ask the question. Her business has gone on to do multiple millions. She has retail. She has physical products. She has a whole other arm of her business now. And she still does some influencer work, but the most of her income, the majority of her income comes from her own stuff. And the funny thing with her too is she had this belief that she couldn't do it by herself. She had this belief that she was only as good as the companies that would pay her. And she thought that the only reason why it worked was because those companies were big companies, not because she was talented, not because she created great content, not because her audience loved her. Crazy. We've had a lot of people come through like this. Now, a big mistake a lot of us make or have made is relying on social media. Does anyone remember 2 days ago on Tuesday, Instagram and Facebook were shut down for a couple hours? Anyone remember that? I don't know if you noticed it. I did. It's part of my job to notice it. I'm not on social media all the time, 24/7. I have a life, but I did see it pretty quickly. I also generally get a lot of questions. People will start emailing, are you having problems? Clients will come in, are you struggling to get on Facebook? Now, in my 12 years of doing this online business stuff, that has only happened a small amount of times. But generally when it happens, people go into a frantic frenzy, a panic. And that's because so many business owners, LinkedIn went down too, interesting. Because so many business owners rely on social media, but social media is borrowed. It's borrowed. Oh yeah, we asked him to shut it down for the presentation. Here's the difference between owned and borrowed. A list that you own is your email list, is a podcast list, is a text message list. It's when you host events and people literally write their information down for you or host retreats. Now, everything else is borrowed. You're on borrowed land over here in Instagram land and TikTok and Snapchat and many whatever and who what Clubhouse threads and all that. It's borrowed. If they have a shutdown or they decide to shut down or you get hacked, you have no way of reaching your people. Now, I was not in a panic on Tuesday because we have lots of ways to reach you. So while we couldn't live stream in the Facebook group or post over there, we could email you, we could text message you. We've got a podcast that's got bumpers on it, bumpers are like commercials. I could have quickly recorded something and put an episode out and hoped that someone like Jenny Barry, who listens to every single episode ever, would see that there was a new episode that dropped on a random day, right? So there's lots of ways I could have taught you or reached you, I should say. We cannot just rely on things that are borrowed. We want to make sure that we're building an email list. We always want to be building an email list. Now, a lot of people think that if I don't have an email list, I can't launch. And that's not true. We'll talk about that in a moment. Or they think that their email list isn't big enough yet. Or they just get overwhelmed with the thought of building an email list. Has anyone here gotten overwhelmed with the idea of building an email list? You're like, I don't know who, I don't know how, what platform, do I need to pay for the platform? I'm scared I won't be consistent with emailing my people. What do I even say to my people? And how do I get them on my email list, right? Yeah, thank you. Too many options. So having it, thinking that you need a list first is actually backwards. So kind of like the idea of like, I think I have to get fit before I can go to the gym. That's backwards. We go to the gym so that we can get fit. The fact that you don't have an email list yet, or it's a small email list, is actually a really good thing. You've got one leg up against your competitors, because when you have a smaller list or social media following, you likely have a deeper connection and you can get more connected to your audience. You can have more one-on-one conversations. It's easier to be in the DMs when there's 100,000 people versus 100 people. It's a very different energy, right? You don't need a list to launch. Your launch builds your list. Every time you launch, every time you host something like a webinar or a masterclass, every time you put out a free training or a resource or a PDF or a guide or a guided meditation, and you have emails collected in exchange, every time you launch, even if it's free, you're growing your email list. Now, this launch right here, DBE Live, has grown our email list by almost 4,000 people. I didn't wait for 4,000 people to join my list before I said, it's time to do DBE Live. No, I said, we're doing DBE Live. And then almost 4,000 people said, I want in. And it's free. But it doesn't have to be a studio training like this. It can be your favorite recipes in a PDF. It could be a 5-minute YouTube video of you teaching someone how to do a handstand. It could be your favorite books in a book list somewhere. Whenever you give someone something for free and in exchange they give you an email, that is how you build your email list. Now, here are 5 steps to do it. Really simple. Number 1 starts with market research. It's not about you, it's about them. What do they want? What do they need? Number 2, you create a juicy offer, which we talked about a lot, and that offer is for something free. So yes, even free things need to have a really clear offer. In exchange, they're going to give your email, you're going to give them the deliverable, the meditation, the guide, the book, the training, the webinar, the masterclass. And then they get put into your email list, which your job is then to nurture them, and you just do this on repeat all of the time. We actually have, it's very meta, we have a free training. It's 10 different videos on how to build your email list, how to create your first opt-in. It's all about the messaging on the opt-in page, the technology of how to put together the opt-in page, and it's in itself is an opt-in. It's a free training, and you give me your email, and I give you how to do it. Very meta. Cool that I can do that. Something that I love so much is that when we do it with our clients, we make it easier for them. So please don't zoom in here, Rebecca. I've got a lot of gray hairs. I really do. And the other day on social media, I showed you that I was I was actually covering them with eyeshadow because I just haven't dyed my hair in a while and my roots are coming in. So I got some grays. And those grays came from technology. I'm not a tech person. I'm not at all. Like, this is not my jam. I kid you not. When I go away, I sometimes have to text Mike. I'm like waiting for him to laugh because this is a true story. I will text him and ask him to order my seamless and like Uber for me because I have so many issues with tech. If he's not home, I can't get on Netflix. Like I'm just that bad with tech. So these gray hairs came from technology and me not getting it, me not knowing what to do, me spending hours and hours and hours banging my head against the computer screen because I couldn't figure out how to build a landing page. I didn't know what a landing page was. And when I did figure it out, how the heck was I supposed to connect the thing I was giving people with the thing that they put their email in? And it was just a cluster for me. But for my clients, I don't want them to go through that. So I have step-by-step tutorials. We have a template shop. We have scripts for them. These are literally templates you can plug directly into, so you can just take the visual of what it looks like. Maybe we could share that. Yeah, thank you. We've got like a boho theme. We've got a more professional theme. We've got a really funky theme. And then you can customize the colors and the font. And then we tell you what to write on the screen. We give you the tutorial of how to go through everything, how to connect it. I don't want you to struggle the way that I did. That's not the point of a mentor. The point of a mentor is to collapse the time and the struggle and the challenge. So, building a business does not create freedom. We've talked about that, right? It's the structure that creates the freedom. And when you have a clearly laid out map, it becomes a lot easier, and we don't need to be doing this alone. Milestone markers, checklists, progress trackers, things to safeguard, workbooks, attendance, co-coaches, things that are all put into place to help you, because it is not an easy road. There are a lot of bumps in building a business. Now, we're going to get into the 9 accelerators, which is the part that people have been waiting for. And if you haven't, and you're like, what is she talking about? You'll recognize it in just a second. So we've talked a lot about this Venn diagram. Yeah? We remember this Venn diagram? Okay. Going back to this very beginning of holistic freedom, we have these 3 critical outcomes, the tiny little ones. So holistic freedom is the middle, and we've got audience growth, global impact, and consistent income. And in order to figure all that out and make all that happen, we have to hit our 3 main pillars. So our 3 pillars are going to be having our firm foundation, our marketing mechanism, and our sales system. Now, what we haven't talked about yet is how we actually get the firm foundation, the marketing mechanism, and the sales system. So we're going to play a game. Each of these circles in the Venn diagram have 3 little accelerators, making a total of 9 accelerators. Now, I'm going to have you grading yourself on this stuff, but I don't want you to judge yourself. I want you to have an awareness of where you are so that you know exactly where you need to go in order to make the strides in your business that you are looking for. So here's the game. I love games. Does anyone else like games? Here's the game. The range is 1 to 10, and this awareness is simply so you know where you're at. As we go through the 9 accelerators, you're going to write the number that comes up for each one of the accelerators, and you're just going to write it off to the side. So as we go through the accelerator, you're going to write 1 through 9, and we're going to do that 9 times. So if that makes sense, say yes in the chat box. Let me know that you're good. It makes sense. I don't need to explain it anymore. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So we're going to get into this. It's a game. This is not to stress you out. It's a game. It's fun. So the very first accelerator in your firm foundation is having an unshakable infrastructure. Now I'm going to break down what that means for you. So if you are still using platforms like PayPal Friends, if you're having people Venmo you, if your business and your personal bank accounts are still the same, if you have not filed for a business entity yet, like an LLC or an S Corp, then you're likely in the 1, 2, 3 range. So go ahead and if that's where you are right now, no judgment, doesn't matter. Write that down on your chart. You don't have to write it in Zoom. You're in the 1, 2, 3 range. Now, if you already have a business bank account, you're filed legally as a business, whether it's LLC, S Corp, something like that. You have automated contracts that go out to your clients. You've got a website with updated terms and conditions. Then you're going to be in the 8, 9, 10 range. And if you're in the middle of the road, give yourself a 5, 6, or 7. So if you have some of the stuff, but not everything. All right? Does that make sense? Just say, I'm good in the chat if you're good on that, and we can move forward. Because I want to make sure you get it before we keep going. Good, 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 good. Okay, so if you're kind of at the beginning, it's the 1, 2, 3. If you're pretty much on lock, it's the 8, 9, 10. If you're anywhere in the middle, it's a 5, 6, 7. Now, the second part of having a firm foundation is what I call streamline technology. I'll tell you, this was not where I was. So if you are not tech savvy, You've never hired out for anything tech. You don't have streamlined automations. You don't have an email CRM. Maybe you don't even know what an email CRM is. You're manually DMing people for information. You don't have sales pages. You don't have a website. You're going to be in the 1, 2, 3. Now, on the other side of that coin, if you've got all of your platforms on lock, they're speaking to one another. So Slack talks to Kajabi, talks to Monday, talks to this one. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, you're probably in the 1, 2, 3. If your client onboarding process is completely automated and you utilize programs like Zapier all the time, if you have some team or contractors that are constantly updating your website, if you have reoccurring payments coming through that you're not manually managing, you're going to be an 8, 9, 10. And if you're somewhere in between, give yourself a 5, 6, 7. Cool? Okay. And the third part of our firm foundation is making sure that you have dream buyers. So if you're in a place where you're kind of unsure of your niche and ideal client, you feel like you want to do more than one thing, you want to talk to more than one person, you're really having a hard time honing that in because you want to help so many people, you're doing so many different things, you're not 100% sure on like the avenue and the direction that you want to take for the actual business or the offers you're going to create, you're going to be in that 1, 2, 3 range. And then if you're rock solid on your niche and ideal client, you are already putting a flag in the sand, you're super polarizing on social media, you're myth busting, you have a really clear I help statement, you know the transformation and the pains and pleasures of your ideal client like the back of your hand. There is no second guessing your messaging. You're an 8, 9, 10. And if you're in the middle of the road, you're going to be a 5, 6, 7. Are we good? Am I going too fast? Because we've got 6 more of these to go. So just let me know if we're good on the time here. Perfect. This makes sense. Love it, Jenny. Lady Stiletto. Thank you, dear. Robert. All good. All right, moving into our marketing mechanism. Now we have the powerful social presence, which we started to talk about on day 1 we were talking about. So if you're posting and praying, if you're scrolling for inspiration, if you're hoping to go viral, if you're confused by the features, you don't know how to find trending audio, you don't know how to put a reel together, social media stresses you out, you feel like you're late to the party, you're struggling with growth and engagement, you're likely a 1, 2, 3. And if you're consistently growing by 50 to 200 new followers a week, you're getting reshared, saved, you have random people DMing you asking to work with you, then you're going to be an 8, 9, 10. And if you're in the middle, a 5, 6, 7. A 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. The second part of our marketing mechanism is making sure that we have our nurture depth. So if you don't have an email CRM, you don't know what it is or where to find one, you've never created an opt-in, you don't know how to make a landing page, and you don't even know why you should, and maybe you have no email list or like under 100 people on your email list, you're going to be in the 1, 2, 3 range. And then on the flip side of that, if you are sending 1 to 2 weekly nurture emails to your list, you're getting an average open rate of over 35%. You're consistently getting a click-through rate of 1 to 2%, you've got multiple opt-ins and maybe email funnels going, you're going to be an 8, 9, 10. And again, if you're like, I don't even know anything that she just said, you're probably a 1, 2, 3. And then if you're anywhere in the middle, some, you're going to be a 5, 6, 7. All right. The last piece of the marketing mechanism is making sure that you have the irresistible offer. Now, if you don't have a clear signature offer, if you don't have your focused deliverables and you don't know what they are, if you don't have people telling you, if you do have people telling you it's too expensive, if you're having silent launches, back to back, no one's buying, people aren't commenting, they're not DMing, they're not asking to work with you, they're not converting, you're probably a 1, 2, 3. And on the flip of that, if your programs and offers are selling out, if people are reaching out to you asking when the doors are going to open again, if you've got wait lists with dozens of people on your wait list before you even open the doors, if every offer you put out makes at least 2, 3, 10 sales, you're probably an 8, 9, 10. If you're anything in the middle, give yourself a 5, 6, 7. All right, moving into the last part, we've got 3 more accelerators. The sales system. Coming up first in your sales system is your storytelling. So we want sticky storytelling here. If people have a lot of questions after you put an offer out, so you launch something, you put an offer out, and maybe you do have a sales page or not, but you have a lot of questions, people are confused, or people are asking for follow-up sales calls, or they're DMing you dozens of times before they're making the buying decision, and then ultimately probably not buying, you're going to be in the 1, 2, 3. If every single post that you put out, you're getting messages from people and comments like, oh my God, it's like you're in my head. If people are clicking to buy your product or program at $1,000, $3,000, $10,000 without a sales call, if your sales page is converting at over 40%, you're probably an 8, 9, 10. And if you're somewhere in the middle, give yourself a 5, 6, 7. All right, the second part of our system, our sales system, is going to be that you have a repeatable vehicle. So if you don't have a launch vehicle, you don't have a wait list, you're not selling at the end of maybe a masterclass, you have not created an email funnel, you don't run ads, you don't have social media campaigns set up organically to do launch, your emails aren't written ahead of time for launch, you're probably in a 1, 2, 3. And on the flip, if you have a bulletproof launch vehicle that you use every few months or every, once a year, and you've got all your emails set up and ready to go, you barely make tweaks to them, you've got slideshows ready to go, you're ready to deploy, maybe you have a team in place helping you manage the launch, you've got people asking you about the launch before you even do the launch, you're probably an 8, 9, 10. And if you're in the middle, give yourself a 5, 6, 7. And that's so cool. I just saw Renee's comment. I didn't realize how much I've grown since the last round when you went through this. That is so cool. I love that. What a cool experience for you to have. It's just about awareness, my friends. This is not about making you feel bad or behind. The last part of your sales system or your sales engine is the long-term loyalty. This part's huge. People overlook this all the time. Again, they think they need more leads, but it's like, what about the people that are already in your house? So if you're not getting repeat long-term clients, if you don't have commitments in place ahead of time, if you're manually tracking payments or trying to manage if people are missing payments, if you're missing clients' birthdays, if you're needing new leads all the time to make more sales, you're probably a 1, 2, 3. And on the flip, if your customer retention is close to 90 to 100%, people are staying with you for years, the majority of your clients are coming in from word of mouth, referrals. You've got automated surveys going out to your clients. You've got testimonials coming in unprompted. Birthday cards are getting mailed out. You've got upsells and downsells going out to your current or past clients on a regular basis. And you have a place to nurture all of your graduates or past clients. Then you're probably an 8, 9, 10. And if you're in the middle, you're a 5, 6, 7. Now, this is the fun part. This is the fun part. Oh, by the way, we've got winners today. Don't forget to stay to the end. The traffic light game. So you can grab, if you have near you, red, yellow, green. It could be a highlighter. It could be a crayon. It could be a marker. If you don't have anything near you, you can just write R for red, Y for yellow, and G for green. But we're going to go in and we're actually going to color over here in the Venn diagram. We're going to color what we have into the Venn diagram. So red, I'll give you a second to grab. Red will be 1 through 6. Yellow will be 7 and 8. And green will be 9 or 10. Now this is just going to visually help us understand where we're at to see what we really need to focus on in order to have that holistic freedom that we desire. And I was a school teacher, so I love games like this. Now, on the board up here, I'm going to do an example for you, just so you can kind of see what we're doing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the same numbers as what I'm putting up. So are we ready to start? Let me know if we're ready to start. Your whole thing is red. We haven't started yet. And if it is, don't worry. It's a sea of red over here. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, we're ready. So, for the very first piece, when we had our unshakable infrastructure, if you had a 1 through 6 colored in red, 7 or 8 is yellow, and then 9 or 10 is green. So go ahead and just color in the edge there, or just write R, Y, or G. As we move through, we're just going to do the same thing for all of it. So after the unshakable infrastructure, we're going to move into our streamlined technology. Fill that one in. It looks like some of you have beat me to it. Okay, and then from there, let's move to our dream buyer. Oh, this one I gave myself a yellow on, or this fake client, or whatever this is up here, this example. From there, we're going to move into our marketing mechanism. We're going to fill that in. So our powerful social presence in here is going to be a yellow. Remember, 1 through 6 is red, 7 and 8 is yellow, 9 and 10 is green. Do we need that in the chat box? I think we're okay. The next one, we've got our nurture depth. This is all about email and going deeper with people. Fill that in. The last part of your marketing mechanism is going to be your irresistible offer. And after training day 2, we got a green on this one. And then finally, we're going to move into our sales system. The first part, we've got sticky storytelling. What are we going to give ourselves there? 1 to 6 is red, 7 and 8 is yellow, 9 and 10 is green. Moving on from there, we've got our repeatable vehicle. And then the very last one that we have is going to be our long-term loyalty. Now, I saw a lot of you already writing in the chat box what you have, and I'm so grateful for that. I want you to just take a second here. Look at what you have. Is it mostly red, mostly yellow, mostly green? Where are you at? And then I want you to ask yourself the very honest question of how comfortable are you with achieving the 3 critical outcomes of growth, impact, and income with where you currently stand? We got a lot of mostly reds, and that's okay. I'm actually curious. We have some repeat offenders, as I call them, people that have come back who actually said, oh, wow, I'm so surprised to see the growth that I've had. How many more turned green? How many more from red turned yellow? I'd love to know what that looks like. And let that be expansive for you on here right now. If you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much red on here, there's so much yellow on here. Look at what's possible when you know this. Like, knowing it is the superpower, but applying it is where the magic happens. Because remember, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So imagine taking this knowledge and stepping forward with it. I have some greens and mostly yellows, and I'm guessing that last year you probably had reds, Renee, is probably my guess, if you saw so much growth. I had so much red last year, and now there's lots of greens and there's no more red. Oh! Here's the thing. They say new levels, new devils. I don't know who they are, but they say a lot of things, right? And one of the things that they say is new levels, new devils. Every time I do this, because I do this every year, because DBE Live is like spring cleaning for our business. That's how we treat it. We do at DBE as well. Every time we do this, we're never all green. Because every time we do this, we raise the bar, we raise the standard of what it means to be a 8, 9, 10. How do I get to be a 6 or 7? What does it look like to be a 1, 2, 3? That's the point. We're always evolving and growing, and we're always progressing. So don't think for one moment that it's always going to be perfect. Now, we both know that the highest probability for you to master the critical outcomes and the 3 pillars so that you can reach the holistic freedom is by turning all of these green, right? We know that the highest probability for that to happen is going to be when these all turn green. And that, my friends, is my job. Helping you turn these green is my job. Helping you see growth from now until the next time you do that is my job. That's where I come in. As we begin to wrap up, I want you to think for a moment about that idea of the worst case scenario. I shared that on day 1. I want you to think about sitting on the nail like the dog. I want you to think about nothing changes if nothing changes. I want you to think about your purpose and your why around why you want to do what you want to do. And remember that sales is a service. And when you have a solution to a problem, it's your responsibility to share it with the world. And if you do not share it, you are robbing people and you are stealing from the opportunity of transformation and change. A couple things to ponder. You can journal on this. You can take a screenshot here. But some stuff I want you to think about as we move into the weekend. Where are you now and where do you want to go? How are we going to reverse engineer that? What does the big vision look like? How does that vision in your body make you feel? This one's really important. How do you know when you get there? We all have these big goals, but how will you know when you get there? What action steps will you need to take for your future self? You know, it's so funny. We talk about our future self a lot. We do. We all do. We talk about our future self and my highest self and the highest good and this future person, this future version of me. And then we get really frustrated and upset when we haven't met him or her yet, when we're not there yet. Here's the thing though. Your future self is taking wildly different action steps than your current self. You literally can't meet him or her if you remain where you are. The version of him or her in the future is not the version of you today. So obviously, the way that you think today and the action steps that you take today will not get you to your future self, because like Joe Dispenza says, your familiar past will sooner or later become your predictable future. So by nature, if you want to open the door and meet the future version of yourself, you have to do something different. You have to get out of the comfort zone that we both know is not very comfortable. Now, before we get into our winners and kind of put a bow on everything today, I want you to stick with me here for one moment. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. You have a second. You don't have to do it yet. And if you want to turn your screen off, you can absolutely do that. You have come this far. Whether you're here live or you're watching the replay, this is not the time to back out. The quality of your life is determined by the questions that you ask. Self-awareness is the key to that feeling that we desire of readiness, but we both know that readiness is an illusion. So I'm curious about a couple things, and I want to see if you'll play with me. So if you need to, go ahead and shut your screen off. And we're going to get into something here about this future version of yourself. So go ahead and close your eyes. And in just a second, we're going to kick some music on. And I want you to still just think here for a moment of that future 6, 7, 8-figure business owner version of you. Just think about them for a second. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. Breathe in a little bit taller. And exhale out through your mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it at the top. See if you can breathe in a little bit further. And exhale out of your mouth. Roll your shoulders back away from your ears. And on this next breath, I want you to lift your shoulders up to your ears so high. Lift them up, breathe in. Scrunch your neck together, clench your jaw together, scrunch your face, wiggle your nose, get it tighter, higher, higher. Get your shoulders up as high as you possibly can. Tighten your abs, squeeze your butt. And on your exhale, drop everything away. So in this meditation, we're going to step into our inevitable future. And I want you to step into it as if you're already there. You're not watching from above. And I want you to imagine and just visualize for a moment being in the business and the life that you desire. The freedom that you've been craving. The schedule every day that you wake up and get to live. Picture yourself in it. Look around. What do you see? How do you feel? Allow yourself to go to a place where the light comes in and it's so expansive. The energy takes over. Allow the feelings and emotions to take over you right now. I call them gratiteers. When you have so much gratitude and overwhelm for this life, this business that you built, you're standing in it. It's in your hands. Imagine that it's a reality. It's no longer a dream. Breathe through it. What are you doing? Who are you with? How are you serving them? What does it feel like? The pride, the excitement, the fulfillment, the joy. Now, I want you to imagine that there is someone who looks up to you so much, they aspire to be like you, everything that you do. And they're on their first step of their journey. And they approach you and they ask you, what did you do? What's the secret? Tell me everything. Think about it. What would you say? What's the secret to the success that you've had? How did you get there? Living in that dream life with your dream business. The one that's making an impact, the one that's making an income. Think back. What would you tell them? What are the actions you've taken? What were the fears that you had to overcome? What were the stories that you had to rewrite? What did you do differently? What changed? Can you feel it? The future version of you? Do you know that it's possible? And that if it's in your head and it's come down for you, it's meant for you. Breathe. And allow yourself to bring a smile onto your face and open your eyes. Now, if you want to put your camera back on, you totally can, because I love seeing your faces. And if you want to write anything down about that, you can take a second to write that down. And if you're brave enough, happy tears, gratitears, let me know in the chat box. How did that feel? Gratitears. How did it feel? Does it feel out of reach? Does it feel possible? It feels abundant. It feels amazing. I feel so grateful. I'm empowered. That was amazing. So expansive. It's at your fingertips. I didn't do anything. You did that. You have that. That vision, I didn't tell you what to think about. You have that. It's already inside of you. Creating your future, it's so peaceful and so light. It's also just such a good song. Indian Summer by Ja Wolf, such a good song. I felt empowered. I saw myself speaking on stage and motivating other women like me. I love that. Will anyone else share what they saw? What was the vision? What did it look like? For me, it's weird. I have no desire to live on the beach, but my brain always goes there to like a beach house for some reason. And there's the ocean and kids running around, and I'm with Mike, and we get to just do what we want to do and create the schedule that we want to create. And the cool thing is we're not living on the beach, but we do get to do that. And that's what this creating courses and coaching programs has given us. The gift of getting to have lunch together every single day. We walk Montana together every day. If he's lucky, multiple times a day, but most people don't get to do that at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. That's the freedom element of it for me. That's the freedom element. Writing books, hosting courses, speaking on stages, having a vacation home, being able to visit my parents whenever I want. My mom was sick back in September and was in the hospital for a couple weeks, and it didn't matter. I jumped on a plane immediately. I get to take my work with me. You can't buy that, but you can create it, which is pretty cool. I have retreats with amazing people. It's so cool. It's so cool. Thank you for playing that with me. Your final workbook prompt is going to put a bow on what you just did. And it's about your future and about your future self. And I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I want to know if you can unpack and figure out, how will you know when you get there? What will that be? How do you know when you arrived? Is it quitting your 9 to 5? Is it a certain amount of money? Is it particular awards or accolades that you need to hit in order for you to say, I did it, I made it. It was a TED Talk. It was a book I had to write. And then really sit with yourself in this journal, in this workbook, and say, what are the new actions that I have to take? What do I get to let go of? What beliefs do I need to change? In life, we're presented with choices all of the time, right? This is an article that was written when Mike and I lived in the RV. Fun fact, we went viral. This was in Wall Street Journal, and then it got plastered everywhere. We were on the news, Google, Daily Mail. It was crazy. But the biggest lesson that I learned during RV life, and I think Mike too, but the biggest lesson that I learned at, 38 years old or whatever I was that the path is the path. It's really simple, very simple. The path is the path. And so as a recovering control freak, a recovering type A planner, I started to recognize that if we decided to drive west, there was no reason for us or me to harp on what we could have been doing had we driven east. If I shifted my energy and kept talking about, well, but if we went to Colorado and we drove east, we could have done this and we would have been at that national park, and this is what we could have been doing. Because when I would do that, it would pull me out of presence. So the path is the path, and there's no right path. But I started to see, at almost 40 years old, trusting the process of the path, because you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. That's what Steve Jobs said. And what I also realized is that the path less traveled is where the magic happens. People ask us all the time, what was your favorite part of RV life? Where was your favorite place to visit? And we both always have the same exact answer. It was the in-between. It was the places that you don't fly to. It was the places that you don't fly and then drive to, and the national parks that not everybody goes to. It was the in-between. It was the in-between moments that were not captured on film. It was the in-between restaurants in the towns that we never would have heard of or visited any other time in my life. It was the in-between people that we met that was the magic that was created. And it's no different in your life and in your business. Incredible things happen in the unknown. And they're only scary because we don't know them. And this is that whole thing again of I can't get the bartending job until I have experience. I'm not ready. Well, of course you're not, because you haven't taken action. So when you're presented with options in life or choices in life, we've got option A, this road over here. This is sitting on the nail. It's sitting in the comfortable. It's the worst case scenario. It's just enough. I'm fine. It's okay. Good is the enemy of great. It's the person who comes and consumes this free content but doesn't implement it. Information is not what we need. Implementation is. Path B is different. It's unknown. It's not as traveled. It's ready to try something different. I'm going to leave my ego at the door. And despite the fact that it feels a little sticky right now, I also know that resistance is what builds the muscle. If anyone in here has ever taken a spin class before, and they tell you to turn the dial up on your resistance, they're telling you to do that, number one, so you don't hurt your knees. But number two, because resistance is what literally will build the leg muscle or the butt muscle. When it's cruising and you're at resistance 0, you're not building muscle. It could be good for the heart. It could be cardio. Resistance, stickiness, that's what builds the muscle. So when you go down a path that you haven't been down before, it could feel hard. It could feel different. It could feel sticky, but that's where you're going to grow. And so I've told you a couple times that it's coming, and it is, but I want you to listen real close because you're not doing much of anything yet. Here are our two paths we just talked about. Without judgment, we're in different seasons of our life. So if you are the person who's going through the divorce, moving across the country, just left a job, just got laid off, just had a baby, it might not be the time for you to go down the unknown. But if you are, despite not feeling ready, and you know where you want to go, and you just met that future version of yourself in that meditation, I'd love to invite you with us. So we are ready, and we are waiting with Empower. Now, Empower is the place that you come to create, launch, and fill your own digital course or coaching program. And it is my responsibility to share with you the solution, because I'm not going to let you drown in the water and walk past you. As we talked about on day 2, I'm going to run into the water. This is not a gimmick. It's not a funnel. It's not flashy marketing. Empower is the roadmap. It's the proven process. It's the system and the structure and the framework that not only do hundreds and hundreds of our clients continue to use today, it's the exact same one that I continue to use today. Empower allows you to literally take your business and plug it directly into my business so that you can explode your income and your impact. And you can do it now as opposed to 6 months, 3 years, or 5 years from now. I got to share this video with you. I can't promise you I won't cry because I cannot watch any of this without crying, but take a listen to this real quick. I never asked for this video. It was just sent to me.
I'm a clinical nutritionist and a business strategist,
music coach,
certified nutrition coach,
gut and hormone health coach,
CPA and fitness professional,
nature mentor.
For Empower, I was lost.
I didn't even know where to begin.
Really confused about how to structure my business.
I was feeling extremely lost.
While in Empower, I actually had an almost 6-figure launch, and since leaving Empower, I've made $500,000 for my business.
At the end of it, I made my investment back and more.
I left Empower with a $25K launch.
Made my financial investment back before the course was up.
Created this out of thin air, and I had a $12,000 launch.
I feel more energized, feel more confident. I'm more connected with my messaging and what I'm doing in this world.
I had my first ever $50,000 module.
If you're on the fence, make sure you jump in. You're not going to regret it.
Sign on the dotted line. It will be the best investment you ever made.
Jump in. It's your time to swim. The world needs you. And the folks at Empower will help you connect with those people who need you.
I'm so grateful the sound wasn't on in my room because I definitely would have cried if I heard it. My favorite thing about this video is it's just real people from all walks of life all around the world. And I have thousands of screenshots We have hundreds of written and video testimonials. In fact, if you were to go over to my old Instagram page, which is inactive, it's been inactive now for 2 years, The Digital Business Evolution is my old Instagram page. It used to be my Jess Glazer page. And if you were to look at the highlight covers in there, there are years and years and years of evidence, of screenshots, of proof, of people talking about what they've built and how they've built it. Now, I don't want you to worry about Empower yet because it's not open yet. We will open in a few short days. So on Monday the 11th, we will officially open the doors. We only open them one time a year, and it is only available for a few days. So details will come soon. I'm not giving you the details now. You don't know the offer now. You only know the name of the product. Empower will start in April, which means that our clients inside of cohort number 19 will be launching their businesses, or their coaching programs and courses in June. They'll be onboarding their clients in June. So think for a moment what your life could look like when you're onboarding your own clients in June, what that will look like when that course that's been living inside of you, that coaching program you've been sitting on, is finally out into the world. And I'll give you the details about the community and the coaching and the training and the portal and all the things on Monday. We're not going to talk about it now. But some of you have already made the decision and you know you want in, and some of you have actually already joined our wait list without me even telling you about it, which for me, I love, because I believe that action takers are money makers. So as I've seen people joining the wait list, I'm like, yes, where are you finding it? Our VIP priority list link is going to get dropped into the chat box here in just a moment. If you want to be the first to know all of the details and you want to be able to get into the class first, because we do have limited seats, then I would suggest getting yourself on the wait list. This is an incredible opportunity, and we'll give you everything that you need to know. You don't have to worry about any of it. The only thing that I want you to do right now, aside from potentially joining that wait list if you want to know more about Empower, is finish the homework. You committed to this. Do the rest of the work. Drop your takeaways. I'm going to give our winners in just a moment. We've got more winners coming in hot on Monday. So I'm going to tell us the 3 winners from day 2 in just a moment. But we also are going to give out winners on Monday. So make sure that you continue to do your homework from today. You drop your aha moments and your takeaways in. You finish your workbook. And most importantly, on pages 2 and 3, you've got your GPS guide. Now that you're going to be able to complete your actual entire workbook, you're also going to complete your GPS guide on pages 2 and 3. When your GPS guide is done, you're going to drop that into the Facebook group, evidence that you've done it, and we're going to pick additional winners who are not getting Amazon gift cards, but they are getting an incredible hand put together box of stuff from Team DBE and I delivered to their doorstep. We will announce those winners as well on Monday. So do your homework, post your ahas. We're picking winners from today. We're also picking GPS winners, so get your GPS out. Join the waitlist if you want to learn more about Empower. Continue to use the Facebook group while it is still open. Now, replays will only be available for a few short days. So definitely make sure you are watching those replays, because as we shift, they are going to close down. Should we announce the day 2 winners? So day 2 was all about our offer, creating our irresistible offer, and we have 3 winners coming in hot. If we can get a drum roll here. We've got 3 winners coming in, so you're going to email Lauren at help@jessglazer.com. Our 3 winners from day 2 are Brittany Stout. Congratulations, Brittany. Cheryl Desotiel. Yeah, Cheryl Desotiel. And Jill Combs. Congratulations to the 3 of you for getting in your homework on time, dropping those aha moments and those takeaways. And before we go, yes, congratulations to them. Our very last slide. This has been an incredible production the last couple weeks. We've been working on this for months. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have to give a massive shout out to my team. We've got Lauren, Mike, and Amanda. This is what we call the Core 4. We've got a team of over a dozen coaches as well, and some contractors that we work with, but this Core 4 is our executive leadership team. They do everything behind the scenes to make sure everything goes smooth. And of course, a massive shout out to Rad House Studios here in Asheville, North Carolina. They have been amazing to work with. Rebecca and her team have just been such a delight. She's back there right now smiling at me. This has just been such an easy process for me here. So if you're ever in the area, need a recording studio for audio, music, video, production, I'm sure I'm missing things. You can head over to her website, Rad House Studios. But I couldn't do any of this alone. It's not just me stepping in front of the camera. I've shown you the behind the scenes. We've got so many tripods and cameras and screens and Zoom and things. And I also just want to send a special shout out to all of you. So for anyone who has been a part of DBE Live, whether this is your first time or you're a repeat offender, if you've come on the lives, if you're watching the replays, you're active in the Facebook group, whatever you have been involved in, like I said, there's almost 4,000 of you that are a part of this experience right now. And my last thing that I want to say is, I was going to say it in an earlier slide and I totally forgot to. You can see now, as I've taught you all the elements, exactly what is happening, right, with this launch. You can see now what is happening with this launch, with this mechanism, with this sales, with what we're doing. But I'm so curious if, knowing now that in a few days you'll have an opportunity to go deeper with my team and I, has that taken away any of the value that you've learned? Because so many of us have this misconception with sales and we feel bad and we don't want to be sleazy and we're worried about it. But I've taught you all the things about how it's just an invitation. So the amount of value and the things that you've learned, you're saying no. Knowing that the doors for Empower are opening in a few days does not take away from what you've learned or the value you've gained, the people that you've met, what you've seen to be possible, the beliefs that you've borrowed, the evidence of what you could do, the stories that we've shared. So just take that with you. Put that in your back pocket, and next time you go to offer an experience to someone or you go to offer an invitation to someone and you're worried for a second about it being salesy or sleazy, just remember that the offer or the invitation, the proposal itself, does not take away from the years of memories and the experiences at all. So thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to continue with you. We have another live tomorrow. It is a bonus live. You do not want to miss it. We have an incredible guest coming in. Trust me. He will be delivering so much magic to you live in the Facebook group at 12 noon Eastern. We've got the whole weekend to do our homework, to finish our GPS guides. Get yourself on the wait list if you're interested in Empower. Information will be coming out in just a few days for that. And then the doors publicly open on Monday. Like I said, spots are limited and we only open once a year. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all. I hope this has been transformational, and we'll see you inside the Facebook group tomorrow.